2023 has not been an easy one for those working here at the United Nations. A raging conflict in Ukraine and more recently the devastating fighting between Hamas and Israel.
We are witnessing a killing of civilians that is unparalleled and unprecedented in any conflict since I am Secretary General.
An unfolding humanitarian crisis in Gaza, but there are other challenges too, like the Sustainable Development Goals that the UN says are woefully off track.
Today, only 15% of the targets are on track, and many are going in reverse.
Meanwhile, several African countries are calling for an end to UN peacekeeping missions.
We are today at an important crossroads in the relationship between the United Nations and the DRC.
I think it's been a terrible year for the United Nations. Terrible on multiple levels, and I think particularly when you look at the UN Security Council, it's absolutely abdicated its responsibilities in terms of the maintenance of international peace and security, and to absolutely failed to uphold its responsibility to protect people from atrocities.
But those are just common challenges, says another UN expert. He believes that what we saw happening at the world body in 2023 is nothing new. It just means the organization is doing what it's supposed to do.
The fact is that while countries are criticizing it, and to be fair, there are certainly concerns about representation, about who, and that's in the Security Council, who has the veto, who doesn't have the veto, who should have the veto, because it doesn't reflect it reflects the realities of a world in 1945, not a world in 2024. That's absolutely true. But the fact that countries are working to talk about reforming the UN, again, tells us that they're not interested in leaving it, that they see the value.
And once again, the issue of the veto vote has been raised in these walls, with several intergovernmental negotiations taking place this year, debating the equitable representation in the membership of the Security Council.
Abolishing the veto and stopping the abuse of the veto inside the UN Security Council, particularly in situations where atrocities are happening, is the number one most urgent reform that the UN desperately needs.
The world's humanitarian needs are many. Nearly 300 million people require assistance next year, says the UN, due to conflicts, climate emergencies, and economic factors. There was encouraging news at the United Nations this year. A new malaria vaccine has been approved by the World Health Organization, and a high-level international coordinated approach to improve pandemic prevention and preparedness was adopted. There also has been progress made in fighting climate change, despite an increase in global warming. The United Nations remains a beacon of hope and resilience for the international community. But for some, its existence is somewhat irrelevant. But as one UN expert I spoke to put it, if not the United Nations, then who? Jody Jacobs, CGTN, New York.